When you introduce efficiency in a normal company, you will drive down cost. Whereas when you do that, when you introduce efficiency within a law firm business model, you drive down revenue, which is basically the wall you're hitting time and time again. You're cannibalizing your own system because of the fact that you're spending, as a client, when you're hiring a law firm, you're spending money on time, not necessarily on efficiency. That was one of the first, I think, nuts we had to crack, is how do you change it without solely focusing on costs. What we see today in the market is a paradigm, is where you used to have a lot of power on the supply side in the professional services market, which meant that law firms were basically able to dictate how much they were going to charge for the work they do. Whereas since the financial crisis, that has shifted, and you can see a lot more work being done in-house today. You see a lot more power in the hands of general counsel, the people who are leading the legal departments inside large corporations, which means that there's a lot of pressure on price today in the market. What we think is that competing solely on price is not the answer, because it just will not provide a better answer to the real questions that clients face, clients being large corporate departments or large internal legal departments within large corporations. So what we set out to do was to figure out how we can help them better, rather than trying to think from behind the desk what would be the right solution. We started setting up interviews with general counsel. So we went out there and talked to people and asked them questions. What is working? What isn't working? What are the real issues you're facing on a daily basis? What is your daily frustration in working with law firms or dealing with legal issues? How would that work differently? Felix took up a course in design thinking, and based on some of the techniques he learned there, we introduced some of those techniques in the conversations we had with general counsel, trying to come up with quick prototypes, saying, okay, you have this problem, now let's try and think of how we can solve it differently. And then we draw out prototypes on a whiteboard, on a sheet of paper, and try to think of new ways of how we could solve that issue. And I think one of the basic elements we start from is also thinking of the fact that not all legal work in the market that is being currently outsourced to law firms is highly technical. Well, as a matter of fact, I think the larger part of legal work that's being carried out by law firms is not highly technical legal work, but commoditized legal work. Combined with the fact that there's many different numbers out there, but let's say 50 to 60% of what a lawyer does on a daily basis doesn't require a lawyer as such, or a trained lawyer, to do that type of work. Means that there's a lot of scope for improvement. So we started thinking about that and looking at how you could use new technology, which is a technique which is called agile programming, which is essentially quick prototyping, quick to develop, quick to fail. So you learn quickly what works and what doesn't work, and you can adapt on the go. Combining with solid legal know-how. So if you combine those two aspects, that gives you a really good new offering in the market, whereby the model itself isn't driven by time you spend, but by how efficient you deliver the services. And quality in that regard is safeguarded by the consistency of your process, not by the individual doing their job, because any person can have a day off, but a process can't have a day off. But you still need know-how, so you also need good people. So where Xenion is unique in the market, we think, and as far as we can see based on the research we've done, which is quite extensive, is that we combine those two pillars, if you will, in the business model. So there's really good, trained, qualified lawyers with solid know-how on very specific and technical aspects. And then there's the technique of looking at service delivery in a new way, is where we decompose the legal process and then unbundle it and repackage it into a new, much more efficient process. But you need both. You can't just have process and technology. It's not a solution in itself. It's the combination of both that will make it work.